Okay folks, Northwind Garage here. My name is Brian, by the way, in case I haven't told you guys yet. But a few weeks back I did this video when I was on vacation getting ready to go take my kids fishing. And this motor had been sitting in my garage for 2-3 years, and we pulled it out and we got it back running again. Got the bad gas out of it, that sort of thing. And we lost, for some reason we lost, I don't know, like a half an hour's worth of video on it. And the audio we lost. And so I'm going to try to piece this all together and maybe do a voiceover. Bear with me, I've never done this before, but I'm going to try to edit it in such a way so we don't lose any of this video, because there was some really good footage. We happened to see a bald eagle, and it was just a really great day that we had with this little motor and this little boat down here. So it's a Johnson 3-horse, Seahorse it's called. It doesn't have no transmission in it. You have to spin the motor around the opposite direction to get it to go in reverse. And the thing works great. My wife bought it for me for Father's Day. I've always loved the thing. The kids have loved the thing. This whole little outfit right here. We've had more fun in this little outfit, boat and motor, and I just can't tell you how much fun we've had in it. Catching fish and you know, taking a trip around the lake and that sort of thing. And the thing is, it just sips gas. It's just, you can go a long ways on a tank full of gas in it. So we just love the thing, and I hope you like the video. I'm going to try to piece it together best I can. So let's get to it. Okay folks, so right here I'm explaining about this little Johnson Seahorse. It's a little motor my wife bought me for Father's Day. It's a boat and motor setup, and I don't know, I guess it was about maybe 10-12 years ago, and I'm kind of talking with my hands there and just explaining about the motor. Like I said in the intro, it doesn't have a transmission. You just spin the motor around backwards to get it to go forward. It's got a little water pump in it too, so it cools the engine with the water. Now I got my back to the camera here. Oh, I pulled this gas out of the shed, and I go to dump it, and it's obviously gone bad, so I'm just making the situation worse here. But it's been sitting for a couple of years. We hadn't had it out. We went and did other things for vacation, so we didn't take it out. So it was sitting in the garage for at least 2 years. You know, due to job change and this and that and the other. We just didn't happen to get it out. So the gas is bad in it. So I was just putting some gas in it to just see if it would pop, fire off. So I'm pulling on it a few times here, as you'll see throughout the video. So obviously the bowl is stuck. It's beginning to leak out the front of the carburetor. That little vent on top of the gas tank there, oftentimes I've forgotten to open that, and wondering why the thing wouldn't start or quit running shortly after it did start. And obviously it's because the fuel couldn't run out with the vent closed. Now keep in mind, folks, this has been setting for a while. I just wanted to pull it out and throw some gas in it and see if it would fire off. It's obviously not going to do that for us. I don't know how long I'm going to pull on it until I realize that it's dripping gas out the front of the carburetor there. The bowl's stuck on it. Kids are all waiting anxiously. They want to go fishing with Dad as soon as possible. Of course, you know, a half an hour to them is like a year. 10,000 years later. So I'm breaking down here. I'm going to tear into it. Thank God for those little impact wrenches, those little impact drills. I think it's 4 bolts, and then what's on the handle, there's a bolt that goes through the handle, and I believe you got to take that out too, but it's been a while since I had it apart. Yeah, I'll struggle with it for 5 minutes before I realize there's another bolt. There we go. Take that thing off. So if you look there, there's two spark plugs. It's a little twin cylinder. This thing just runs great when it's running. There's the gas. The bowl is obviously stuck. The float in it. So these, it's got a high and low adjustment on the front of it there, and it's so you can adjust the fuel mix on the fly, and kind of elaborate the way they're set up. They're little needle valves that have like a wedge screw in them that holds the little red dials there that you turn to adjust the needle valves. You'll see it here in a minute. So I'm gonna take it off its mount there and get right into that carburetor. Now if I dumped the gas out of this every year, I wouldn't have this problem. But normally what I do is I get back from a fishing trip or whatever with it, and you know, I stick the thing upright in my garage and forget about it to the following year, and I wind up having to clean it out every year. I probably wouldn't do this if I dumped the gas out of it. But everything's quite easy to get to on it. It's not a big deal. It's such a small engine that you know, you can just turn it upside down and get to its innards there and work on it that way. Also too, you can do most things on it with a crescent wrench and a screwdriver. Really, it's really quite simplistic. I've never bought any parts for it other than spark plugs since I've owned it, and I've owned it quite a few years. My wife could probably tell me better how many years we've owned it, but we've got a lot of good use out of it. You know, it's been banging around our house for years. There's that little cam lock needle valve I was telling you about. You just pull the screw out and the thing basically just slides right off. It's like a wedge-shaped screw that goes down, and here I go to talking about it there. And the screw goes in there, it's shaped like a wedge, and it pushes out against the dial when you tighten it up, and it's basically just fits in there. They don't make things like that today. It's all made out of metal, folks. No plastic there. I'd hate to even think what I'd have to hunt down parts for it. Maybe they still make them, I don't know. Maybe one of you could put in the comments whether or not they still make the parts for these things, but honestly, I haven't needed any. The gasket for the bowl, I've had that bowl open I don't know how many times. And basically just clean out the bowl, get some fresh gas in it, and the thing runs well. It's just these 6 screws and that little compression nut on the fuel line. Oh, and the adjustment. And basically that's all you do is open it up that way. There's the gas coming out of it. Like I said, if I emptied this out every year, you know, I wouldn't have this problem. But usually what happens when you get back from a fishing trip, you're all tired out and kids are hungry and this and that and the other. You just wind up turning the valve off and standing it up in the corner of the garage and forgetting about it till the next time. Sits there over the winter and gums up. What's happening is that needle valve is gummed up open, so it it doesn't shut off the gas, or the float can't overpower the needle that's stuck. And I'm going in there with a pick to get the pin out of the float. I probably should get myself one of those little magnet pans that, I think I do have one around on one of my toolboxes, but I was going on the fly, folks. I had a bunch of kids wanting to go fishing, so trying to fix this thing as fast as I can. There you go. That needle valve is stuck. This particular one had a metal needle in it. So now I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk about let's see here. Oh, so now I'm talking about my Milwaukee flashlight. Folks, I love these things. And I wear them out and I beat them up, and you know, this is by no means an endorsement for Milwaukee, but I use these things all the time. I carry one in my pocket along with my jackknife. This is just one of those tools that's indispensable, and they last. They last. And the batteries last. I've left it on in my pocket, you know. It's got a little rubber thing on the end of it that you can stick in between your teeth if you need your hands free. Although I don't recommend it after you've been playing around with gasoline, but here's my little plug for Milwaukee pen lights. So I'm just dressing up all these parts and pieces that got to go back together. I'm not being at all fancy here, folks. You know, normally I'd have this thing all out on the bench, and you know, getting right after it, cleaning it up with a brush in the air. And I just want to get this thing running and get the kids out on the lake at this point. And this stuff evaporates so quick, you know. Yeah, it's going under the ground, but the stuff really evaporates almost instantaneously. So, it's off-the-shelf, non-chlorinated carb cleaner, or brake clean, I mean. You can see the staining in there from the 2-cycle oil just setting in there. Just cleaning out all the ports. Cleaning off the float. This is a cork float. You don't see too many of those around anymore, but that's the way they did it back in the day. Brass or cork. A lot of varnish in there. Getting after it with a wire brush. So here's a little demonstration how the float works, and basically that's what it does. It just goes up and down with the level of gasoline inside the bowl and pushes the needle valve up and down. Works like a valve. So it's a telltale sign when you got gas running out of your carburetor that the float is stuck. And bring out a little air compressor to just blow things off. Kids are being so patient. They just want to go out on the lake. They don't understand what I'm up against here. Which isn't a big deal. It's just you got to go through the steps. Just blowing that carburetor out with some air, so we can get it to feed fuel properly. So here I'm inspecting the gasket, and it's a good rubber, heavy-duty rubber gasket. They don't make things like this anymore, but nothing comes off the assembly line with heavy-duty rubber gaskets on it like this has. And it's just funny how they've cheaped out on a lot of things these days. I can't tell you how many times I've had this carburetor open and that gasket is held up to it. Not to mention the gas sitting on it. So what happens here is I wind up losing a screw, folks, and we hunted around for it, My kids they just want to get on the lake, and here I am hunting for that screw, and one of the boys found it, and thank God for young eyes, right? One of the boys found it, and we were able to get that carburetor back together. This is another problem with just pulling things apart on the back of the trailer here out in the open air. I really should have one of my little magnet trays out there so I could put parts in it, but I was in a rush. But really not that big of a deal. Been apart so many times now. What I should do every year is just clean it out, take the bowl off, and spray it all out, make sure it's dry, then put it back together and have it ready for the next season. But I never do it. I don't know how much of this I'm going to have to cut out, but might have 2 or 3 parts to this video at this point. It was a good day. Turned out to be a good day. So I get this all back together, and then I got to run downtown to get some clean fuel. Way it goes. There I am putting that wedge type screw back together. I guess I was calling it a cam screw. It's more of a wedge. So you got to adjust those all the way in, and then 1.5 turns out, and I think that's how you do it. That's how I've always done it with it and had success. But obviously you can't have it bottomed out or whatever. Expect to have any adjustment range, so you got to make sure you reinstall that dial assembly back correctly, and that's what I'm doing there, and making sure the needle doesn't bottom out completely. Maybe you folks out there can comment and let me know on this. This is just the way I've done it over the years. I never had a manual on this thing. I just went ahead and did it that way all the time. I'm sure there's probably a way that the manual tells you how to do it, but this is the way I do it, and it works. So here I go, putting it back on the stand so we can try to run it. So I this thing back on the stand and open up the fuel valve and try to run it on the fuel that's in it, which is, as you can see from earlier when I put that nasty gas in it. I just want to see if it'll even run on the nasty gas, but probably should just dump it out and start over. So video's getting quite long, so I'm gonna have more than one part to it here, but there I am opening up the bed. Let's see if it'll pop. Didn't fire right away, so something going on there. So I pull and pull and pull on this, folks, trying to get it to run on that bad gas. And eventually, it decides to puff off right on that bad gas. There you have it. I'm checking for water coming out the water pump, which it is. Smoky. But it's running on it.